shaking my head in my negative nasty feel after that Buffalo game where they don't. All I can tell you is Dolphins number one, baby!
Things up, baby.
Dolphins
Things
number
up.
one!
I swear, if a certain quarterback is mentioned in the comments, I got my beers ready. I'm gonna crack it open.
Or is it the
We
Serbian
got
kid?
the Serbian kid,
This looks done. Oh my god, it looks fantastic.
No, good beat, man. Gotta beat the man. Woo! I'm the man. I said it, and it's reality. All right.
Congratulations.
Muy buenas noches, Miami. Welcome to another episode of Fast Break. Actually, it feels like an eternity since I've seen you on the platform, just like this. To my right, my main man, the voice of God, like always, Miami Clutch. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? Just trying to fight off this heat depression.
What a start. Well, before we get into the heat, our man Justin, I don't know, he probably won't be on with us tonight. He's on a work trip, so if he does pop in, we'll pop him right back in and let you know. But this it's funny because before the show started, I was just talking to Clutch, and it seems to be like this first quarter is entirely a description of the epitome of the Heat season. We were down 8-0, 14-0 run. Now probably New York's on a run. It's up and down. I've never been as frustrated in the Heat season as I've been during this one. The lack of consistency, just when you think they've turned the corner, continues, and then you kind of keep falling in that. So I'll express my feelings, but I'll let you go first, Clutch. Describe this in a nutshell. Describe the season for me, please.
I mean, first it was like it started
What's
off
up,
pretty
Anthony?
pretty rough at first, didn't it?
It did.
And then
It did.
like you felt like it got better. You felt like the Heat turned a corner. They got to the trade deadline as a middling team. We're like, okay, they got to make a trade. They didn't. They decided to save that first round pick for the summer when you get more first round picks. And we got Kevin Love. It was cool because of what he was. Now it's kind of like we don't know what he is anymore because he's kind of inconsistent ever since he's joined. And now, I mean, my name says it. We kind of suck again.
Yeah. You can always tell the state of the Heat by your little marker underneath. It's bro. Okay, I'll see it as a fan, and then I'll tell you as a coach. As a coach, sometimes it sucks when you watch games because you really can't enjoy the game for just being a game. You know, like a regular fan, like that fan that sits next to you in the arena has no idea what he's watching, but he's excited, he's jumping, he's oh my god, he's mad. So then you sit down and I just see the breakdown. And I'm like, this year what I was focusing on and what I figured would take the Heat to the next level was the Bam progress, the Bam growth, Tyler Hero's growth. I haven't been disappointed on both fronts. Have you? Or like, are you happy with the growth that Bam and Hero has shown this year?
I mean, they've both obviously grown, but it kind of feels like, I correct me if I'm wrong, but it kind of feels like Bam, after he got selected to the All-Star game, kind of phoned it in for the rest of the time. Because it's been kind of autopilot for him.
Yeah, I don't know how much it has to do acquiring Kevin Love or
maybe.
But you said it could be the mental aspect because he seems to be going back into form now. But there was a moment that one of the knocks on this team is that there's no clear cut who's your top offensive weapon, even though we know it's Jimmy Butler. But Tyler Hero's clutch. So you can say Tyler Hero is your most dynamic playmaker when it comes to shooting wise. Obviously, Jimmy is still your go-to, get buckets, clutch. People are not talking anymore about his shooting. His mid-range game is top-notch. His efficiency is off the charts. Jimmy is playing exactly how you expected him to play. He saved himself during the regular season, the first part, and which you wish it would have been more of an inclination to play at times to get a higher seeding, because now you find yourself in the necessity of having to have him play to be able to avoid the play-in if possible. So it's picking your own poison. But the one plus that I do see is that we're struggling, but we are healthy. We're kind of going into the play-in a healthy state for the first time in a while, because we've usually gone into the playoffs where lingering injuries with Lowry. Lowry's really the only banged up one. So it's a conglomerate. Everything that could have gone wrong in my mindset could, but there's one main thing, and you mentioned it to me. I don't know. I forgot the name that you mentioned, but they stated about our supporting cast after our big three, 4 to 12 or 5 to 12, is possibly one of the worst in the leagues. And I understand the narrative about the undrafted free agent and how that's a success story, how maybe we rely on them too much. I didn't expect any regression. I didn't expect this regression, a communal regression. You maybe one or two players, but everybody that you kind of counted on, even Omer, I know his injury was unforeseen, but when he came back, he seems to be not part of the rotation anymore. Cody Zeller is back, so he's going to get those minutes, which I'm comfortable with. So I actually want to see your take, Clutch, when it comes to our rotational players, because I do believe that part of the success of the season is being able to see them get ample playing time. Even Gabe Vincent, when you know what you're going to get from Gabe Vincent, but even with Strus, they're in contract years. So the organization has tough decisions to make if you're going to offer a contract to either of them. At what price? Where do you cap it? Is it even worthy to sign them? Because honestly, when I look at our G League team right now, I got Jamal Kane. How do you pronounce his name? Jamil Buttigieg?
Oh,
Bouye. And you got my favorite Serbian, Nikola Jovic. You have those people that I believe are rotational pieces for you next year, if Jovic obviously isn't traded for an upgrade. So what is your mindset right now with our rotation in the aspect of the offseason? I'm beyond the point of frustration. I know we can make damage in the playoffs, but I'm not even going to talk about it right now. Offseason wise, do you extend Vincent? Do you sign Strus to a contract, or do you just roll your rotation to what we have coming up?
Legitimately, and I'm talking about very, very legitimately. Like, I've had time to make sure this isn't a emotional take.
I like this. I like this prefix.
Yeah, I've taken the time. I've thought about it, and I still come up with the same result. I don't think I bring anybody back.
Okay.
I think it was on the. I want to say our game was on TNT yesterday, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
I think it was on the TNT show. It
No,
was T-Mac.
was it? Yes, it
Or
was.
is it
Tuesday.
ESPN?
Yeah, Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah, it was T-Mac.
Yeah.
And he said this thing has to get revamped because you have a first option, a solid first option, who's Jimmy Butler, and then you have nothing else. Like, I know you have Bam, you have Tyler, but you have nothing else consistently throughout an entire game. Because Tyler, for as good as he's done, he has the fourth quarters, the really, really good fourth quarter stats. But you have to look at the entire game. At what point is fourth quarters not enough?
Exactly. I get you.
So, and then you have Bam, who he's I don't know. Like I said, if he's regressed, he hasn't really regressed, but it's kind of like ever since you said the Kevin Love acquisition, I say the All-Star break. It's kind of like he's not what he was before the All-Star break. He's kind of picking it up now, but it's kind of too late. And but outside of those three, to be honest, I don't think I bring back anybody. Oladipo's made himself basically unplayable.
Yeah.
Gabe Vincent, he's good, but he has one or two really, really good games in a span of 10. Yeah,
he's just a serviceable at times, just your defensive ball initiator and open.
Yeah, he can defend. He's a good defender, but like I said, at some point, when it's just being a good defender enough?
Yeah.
When you can't do everything else consistently. You thought that Max Strus was going to take the mantle of 2020 Duncan Robinson.
Yep.
And again, he's one of those players like Gabe, like every like for every 10 games you get 2 or 3 really good ones.
Yeah.
And you need more consistency in that rotation. So honestly, if I'm Pat Riley and being in the play-in, I would consider it a failure of a season and an embarrassment, even regardless how much they get through. But just being in the play-in, and then I think you have to do something kind of drastic.
Yeah.
Because you have Barry Jackson pointed it out during the trade deadline. You didn't trade it, so you would have 3 first-round picks available in the offseason.
Absolutely.
Now in the offseason, you're going to have 3.
Absolutely.
And you hope for something to shake loose.
Yeah.
I know we're probably going to talk about it in a little bit. The
we are.
big whale in the room.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you have to do something, and you cannot bring a lot of these people back.
No. At this point, Clutch, like you said, in trade deadline, you bit the bullet, because to move Duncan Robinson was going to cost you a first-round pick. To move Lowry probably would have cost you even more, because it's a bigger contract. Lowry's deal is an expiring deal, so you might attach. He will be part of that package deal if we're shipping out those 3 first-round picks, other assets, and Kyle Lowry, because it's an expiring deal. And I'll bring up that scenario later for you. But in reality, no matter what happens, one thing I did see with Bam, when Jimmy is more aggressive, for some reason Bam's game regresses a little bit. Maybe not the showcase, because it's funny, we're talking about this, but if you look at Bam's numbers, he's still putting up 21 points, 10 rebounds, 4 or 5 assists. So he's still being productive, but to the eye test, you see his defense has slacked a little bit. I don't know if it's the focal point, being the focal point of the offense for so long, which he's 25. That shouldn't have affected him at all. But it does take an effect when you have to overcompensate defensively. I do say that it was also a shift after you removed Caleb Martin from the starting lineup, which I was a big fan of. I do believe Caleb will shine more in his actual role, but it did take more of an effect on Bam as well. Obviously, Love, you have to make a lot of defensive adjustments to play Love. And at a point, now you even start questioning, I have, Love is shooting, 29% from 3 since we acquired him? So the reason we bring him in, obviously, was his rebounding. He's doing a decent job there the minutes that he gets. But offensively, once again, he's not giving you the spacing that you need. So it becomes another unusable piece on offense. Even though his court vision is there, his full court passes are there, his outlet passes are there. So I get that. I don't want to be just a stat buff. But you have to have a serious analysis this offseason, honestly, is you put all your chips on the table, and then you identify the players that you're not willing to move. And at this point, you can say for sure is Jimmy, unless he asks out, but I really doubt Jimmy's going to ask out. That's the reason he signed the extension here. The extension, I believe, is going to kick in next year or the following year. That second extension, the actual contract extension he signed. So I don't see that being the case. Then you get into the argument with Bam. And really, at a certain point, your most tradable asset is probably Tyler Hero. Now, if you trade Tyler Hero, which, once again, I am a huge fan of Tyler Hero, and I see his growth where it's going. Tyler Hero is going to be a superstar in this league. He has it in him. He has the will, and he improves in something that I question him even in this offseason, which was his defense. He's not afraid of the moment. Like Spo said, he has that clutch gene. He wants to take that shot in those moments. And that's what you want in a basketball player. You don't want a basketball player that's going to panic or be afraid of it. He wants it. He has the same mentality as Jimmy. So I live with that. If you do move him, I do hope they're able to keep Jovic, because I see great Jovic in this squad, no matter who's in it. But he may be collateral. He may be part of, what we get to extract talent from elsewhere, which I'll swing it to you here. Obviously, the playoff push, we see where we're going. We see which teams are kind of in the playing bubble. We've seen the regression of some teams after the trade deadline. Dallas, for example. We talked about the Kyrie Irving trade. We knew it was hit or miss. Dallas, it was a desperate move by Dallas because they let Jalen Brunson go, and now they had to trade assets to acquire Kyrie, which Kyrie will probably leave in the offseason either way. So they might miss the playoffs altogether. Luka's unhappy. You can tell in his body language. Luka's frustrated. I'm not saying he's gonna ask out, but there's the rumblings. It might fall under the Damian Lillard scope, which is the big whale. Has there ever been a Heat player that has never played for the Heat more in the resemblance of Damian Lillard?
Wait, you lost me on that last bit. What?
Has there ever been a Heat player that has never played for the Heat in the molding as you see in Damian Lillard?
I mean, if it's what I think you're saying, make Bradley Beal.
Okay. But Bradley Beal, well, you can say that. Okay. Bradley Beal.
That's about it.
But to me, before it was Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's a member of the Heat. The way Damian Lillard plays the game, and you can, it could be PR or not, but he's given everything to the Portland Trailblazers. He's trusted them. He signed extensions. He's gone out publicly and stated that he wants to be there. There is serious consideration that this offseason, he might be inclined to request a trade because there's a limit. I understand what he says, and you've given organizations chances, and they've gotten younger. You see the rebuild. I was really surprised how they performed this year. I really thought they were going to be top 5-6 team in the West, and the way they regressed, and to the point that they're 3 games out of the play-in. There's 2 weeks left, and they're going to shut Damian Lillard down for the season. So, to me, out of everybody across the board, the other scenario that I want you to think about before you respond, I do believe there's going to be a shakeup in the Clippers. I do believe there is either I believe Kawhi stays, but I believe they might move George. And I don't know. I'm intrigued by it. I don't know if it's to the level of a Damian Lillard because Paul George is a pure scorer, and that's kind of like what we need. And Kawhi loves playing with Jimmy. He's also played with Kyle. I don't believe Kawhi will be moved, but I will be intrigued if he wants to be moved. So, big elephant, Damian Lillard, what do you do if this offseason he requests a trade? What are you offering to Portland?
Everything not named Jimmy and Bam.
Okay.
You went like seriously, you empty the deck.
Yeah.
Because you include every single but Tyler, Jovic, everybody. Because I mean, you have to want to win for Jimmy. The way he's carrying this team on his back, and the window is closing really fast on Jimmy. He's probably got, I'll say, 1 or 2 prime seasons left before it's regression time. And I think you need to make the big splash. Personally, I think there's 3 names you look for in the offseason. Damian Lillard, Jaylen Brown.
Yes, that's another one.
And a little bit more of a kind of thing, like we've been on this for years. Bradley Beal.
Brad. Does Bradley finally? So you heard that they're working on extensions for Porzingis and Kuzma.
Yeah, but at that point you got to think you're paying so much money to these 3 guys. Maybe one guy is the odd guy out, which might be Bradley Beal.
Acquire as much time. Look, and Anthony brings one up. How about trading for De'Aaron Fox? The way Sacramento's playing Anthony, I don't think they're going to trade Fox. They have a nice thing going there. The moment they have Mike Brown,
they have a team built that could last for a couple years.
That's the thing that, and especially in the West, and that's the thing, man. We are in a period where we have 2 years where the East is going to be probably the most competitive it's been forever. You have teams that are young, that are growing rapidly. Orlando Magic, the Cavs are already there. You got the Pistons that are going to keep growing. You have a lot of teams that are climbing. The Hawks, to me, already peaked. The Hawks have to. That's another one. I do believe the Hawks have to reshuffle that whole thing. So then they just got Quinn Snyder. So there's going to be some moves made there. There's going to be some free agents there. Obviously, I would love Damian Lillard. Okay, it all comes down to if he requests a trade and if anybody's going to outbid us. part of the big players are going to be the Lakers. The Lakers are going to have a lot of money in cap space. They're going to be able to do a lot of signing trades, if anything. Kyrie's going to determine a lot of that too, depending on where he goes, whether it could be LA. I wouldn't. It's funny to me. I still wouldn't discount a Kyrie, but everywhere he goes, there seems to be an issue. Like no matter what happens, and obviously, it's also basketball fit. Don't get me wrong, but if Kyrie does fit the Heat, the setup that we have is perfect for Kyrie. Dallas traded for Kyrie and put him next to Doncic. Doncic doesn't need Kyrie next to him, man. Doncic needs shooters, defenders, big men that could actually rebound, run the floor. Like you're putting two dynamic playmakers, but they need the ball in their hands. And Doncic is just not a spot-up shooter, bro. Doncic is a playmaker. So I understood why you make that move because you're desperate, but we knew it wasn't going to pay off. You knew the defense was going to fall off the cliff. So there's Bobby with Kyrie. Bobby hates Kyrie. But, okay, just in a basketball sense, Clutch, you get me, right? Here, you can rebuttal, man. I don't got a problem with it.
In purely a basketball sense,
he's the perfect fit for us.
I agree in purely a basketball sense.
Yeah.
I think the team, the way it's built with the people in charge, Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra, I think they care more about just the basketball fit.
Yeah.
And that's what might be like, okay, maybe not. Our owner, I don't know how many people out there know he's Jewish, so there might be an issue there.
I hate Kyrie as a
okay. Yeah, I'm reading Bobby's stuff too.
You see that? And Anthony's like, I'm gonna stay away from Kyrie. His personality doesn't fit the Heat culture, but he might cause locker room issues. Yeah. I mean, if you notice, every stop that Kyrie has had after the Cavs, there's always been issues. And even Boston Boston, when you said Jaylen Brown, that was gonna be you know what? I love Damian Lillard, but I'm really intrigued what it will cost. But I mean, it's highly doubtful because it's the Celtics. They're not going to really try to fortify like an Eastern Conference foe. So if they do move him, they'll try to move him west. But
yeah, that's why I feel the Damian Lillard thing would work in our favor because they lately history like tells you that teams want to send their star player out to the other conference.
Always.
So I think that's what would help Miami in a Damian Lillard situation.
Yeah.
But I saw an interesting point. Like shout out to I love all the Twitter debates and all that. Shout out to Chef Trilly. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
of course. I follow him. Yeah.
He brought up a good hypothetical question, right?
Okay.
It's like you have Damian Lillard and you have Jaylen Brown.
Oh shit.
Damian Lillard is older.
Mm-hmm.
He's I want to say 32.
Yeah.
So you have him. He fits the Jimmy window. He's championship right now.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have Jaylen Brown, who's also very good and put you in contention.
Yeah. For a long period of time.
He's also younger and somebody that could be with Bam after Jimmy Butler's gone.
Yes.
So at that was the big debate is like, what would you do long term and still be competitive, or short term and go for it right now this year? Well, not this year, next year, but yeah.
Dude, I'll be honest. It comes down to the cost as well. But me personally, I'm really intrigued by Jaylen Brown and the way he fits here because I love Damian Lillard. And
I mean, he's a prototype for Spo. His size, what he does. Spo likes that.
And he's a great defender, man. And what you can do, and offensively, he's that player that he can take anybody one-on-one. Damian Lillard, don't get me wrong. Damian Lillard is still an assassin, and he will give you the spacing that you need. He's still a tenacious defender, and he carries an aura with him, and he fits our culture. He's a hard worker. Both of them are hard workers. So honestly, you can't miss. The only thing you're coming into is what are you giving up? What window are you doing here? Because people talk about Jimmy, and I'm asking you a question too that Anthony brought up, so you can respond to him. I love Jimmy, but to me, one of the greatness of Jimmy is part of Jimmy. We're going to see an evolution of an elder player is where he becomes that secondary player that it can still attack and take over a game defensively. Because Jimmy, you can say, is not your official prototypical offensive juggernaut. He's just a bully ball player. Jimmy Butler gets to the line, works on his mid-range, and he goes to the extent that you need to get a bucket, to get you points. He's clutch defensively. He knows where to be at all times, and you can always count on him. So I do believe in the system that he's in. Notice that. He's what, 33, 34? No, he's 33, right?
33.
33. He's had his most efficient year. Like, we have a tendency, especially in the system, where if he's surrounded by the right group of people, he can flourish and he can magnify what he does. We don't need Jimmy to be playing 40 minutes a night. We need Jimmy to be playing 31, 32 minutes, but in those 31, 32 minutes, he causes havoc defensively. Look, this is part of the reason. I understood and I used to have these talks with Bobby. I understood when you make the move for Kyle Lowry. I get it. Jimmy wanted to play with him. You needed a floor general. That floor general basically helped Bam and even Tyler put them in the positions that they need to be on the floor to demand the ball, to attack, to have that mentality. Perfect. But also having Kyle took away one of the major upsides to me of our offensive team, which was point Bam and even point Jimmy. Because automatically they're no longer creating as much because you got Kyle Lowry. Jimmy Butler could be your perfect point guard in a scenario where you have your system where he's not your traditional point guard, but you can have Bam even bring up the ball at times. You can have Jimmy. You can have Tyler. This team doesn't need a traditional point guard. So I love Lillard. I love what he will bring. But if you put me right now between those two, even though it's not going to happen because it's Boston, I would prefer Jaylen Brown. And people might call me crazy, but I do see the fit of Jaylen Brown with the Heat. Even if it costs you, obviously, a hero, it might cost you less. His contract is less. That's not a debate because Lillard, because of the service that he's had in Portland is not just going to trade him anywhere. You get me? Lillard has earned the right to kind of where he goes. So Portland might take a little bit less to accommodate him. But obviously, they're still going to get the most talent back. They're still a professional organization that needs to be competitive. So they're just not going to trade him away. But they do have that gentleman trade where you kind of give them a scenario and you're like, hey, look, pick. And you can kind of like, look, they call Powder, they call Andy. We have this offer on the table. Can you match it? What is the most that you can do? And obviously, that's when because our first-round picks, typically, we're a very competitive team. People talk about first-round picks and they like that sexy name because they see first-round pick. Our first-round picks really don't have that much value because they're always in the late 20s. So it's not like a Charlotte first-round pick. Of course, they have higher value because they're in the teens, maybe in the lottery. So those are scenarios that you play where you were like, what can I trade you that you might be intrigued by? So that's me. Who would you take between and Damian?
I think neither, like anybody who takes either side, I don't think they're wrong.
Okay.
Because it just works on both ends. You get one thing with one of them, another thing with the other, but both of those things that you get are things you need. So, me personally, I take Damian Lillard.
Okay.
Because I guess it's just me personally having this thing with Jimmy Butler where I want him to get that one.
That gratitude. You have gratitude towards him, what he's done for us again. We're back on the map because of him.
Yeah, exactly. I want him to get the one, and the person that gives you the one quicker is Damian Lillard.
Yeah.
When you mix him with the talent and with the coaching, and then all of a sudden you trade for Damian Lillard, Miami becomes a desirable spot. You can get some players cheaper than you usually get them. So, so I think I would go for Damian Lillard, but like I said, I don't think either side is wrong.
Okay. And dude, look, I've been watching some of the game and following some of the things, and I saw that Duncan Robinson's playing right now. You want me to give you a crazy scenario right now, Clutch? And I you know me, I've been advocating for Caleb to come off the bench because I believe that's his perfect role and he can shine. For the playoffs, you might have Duncan Robinson playing over Kevin Love. He still gives you the thing about Duncan. I understand the stigma because of the contract. You remove that contract and you remove Max Strus from the equation, Duncan Robinson is still a playable part of this rotation when he's hitting the shots. And even when they're not going in, he still has a gravitational pull that defenses have to account for. So if you can't move him, not just play him because he makes money, if I might be wrong here, but if you pull up the stats, when Duncan Robinson is part of our rotation, our offensive efficiency is off the charts, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Am I wrong there? Or have you because I know the fallback defensively, but if you have Kevin Love that you have to make adjustments for defensively, and you need to account for a quicker, maybe have Caleb Martin again. As long as you can play Duncan Robinson, he gives you what you're lacking, which is shooting. Strus was most athletic, et cetera, but if Strus is going to be on and off, there's a spot which, and I don't know why this happened. I don't know why Spo didn't find a spot for Duncan Robinson, because I still believe he could be an efficient rotational piece, especially Bam's game, bro. People look for Duncan Robinson. Bam, those dribble handoffs, they worked perfectly. Even Oladipo runs him with Bam. I haven't seen him run a lot with Jimmy and Tyler also, but this is my point here, and I wanted to ask you to see. I know this offseason the goal is to move Kyle Lowry. That's hands down. And we talked about this before. I told you literally, and this is what the franchise has done. Kyle Lowry was going to come off the bench. They were going to use the explanation of him being injured, him coming back, managing his minutes. Because if they could have traded him in the trade deadline, they would have. So I'm not saying he's not injured, but it was very coincidental that it all happened at the same time. You get me? That's something that's like, okay, I understand where you're going with this. Not that the front office won't say that they made mistakes, because they can attest to, like, look, this was a mistake. We shouldn't have done this. We're trying to correct it. That's in-house. You're not going to come out and publicize that. As competitors, you can't do that. So the goal is to move Kyle Lowry. The goal is to move Duncan Robinson as part of the package. So you want me to give up assets, you're going to take these contracts too. Where even a package for Damian Lillard could include Duncan Robinson. Well, if you include Tyler, that's too much money. So you're taking back players also. So that might include a sign and trade with Jeremy Grant. So Jeremy Grant could be part of that trade, coming over with Lillard. There's many possibilities. That's a crazy possibility. But to me, if you can't move Duncan Robinson, Clutch, are you okay playing him next year as part of your rotation? Just a shooter, basically.
I mean, if you're bringing in somebody like Damian Lillard, Jaylen Brown, whatever, somebody of that talent, I mean, he can still be the perfect complementary player to the All-Stars. The problem with this team is that you only had two, but if you had three, then you're talking. I think the point you brought up about you don't get why Duncan hasn't played more and Spo hasn't played him more. I think Spo had to make a choice between either or Max or Duncan, and he chose Dunk, and he chose Strus.
Strus, yeah, because a more athletic, better defender.
Because you really can't have both on the floor. That's the problem.
No.
So you had to choose. He chose Strus because he did solid work in the playoffs. But yeah, I guess that's basically it. But if you move away from Strus, let him walk, sign and trade, whatever it is, you can still make use of Duncan's contract, which still has years left on it. So it's not going to be easy to shed out of nowhere in the offseason.
It isn't. And honestly, bro, what I've seen, and this is crazy. I mean, people are gonna probably criticize or not, whoever's watching. What I've seen from Jamal Cain, obviously he's still on he's getting polished. He's 23, 24, so he has experience. Jamal Cain is a hooper. Bouger, I love him, bro. And Bobby was the one that actually brought him to my attention during the offseason, because I was big on Jamal Cain, and he goes, look, bro, look at this Bouger kid. And Orlando Robinson. So you have pieces that I understand they were undrafted, but there are pieces that, honestly, I would take Jamal Cain over Max Strus right now, because he's more dynamic. He's more athletic. He's an actual shooter too. Bouger could be what Gabe Vincent is. And to me, he looks like even a more quicker version of Gabe Vincent, a better all-around player than Gabe Vincent. Nikola Jovic, given the playing time, have you seen the man, his shooting stroke right now? The way he's playing?
Yeah, I've seen a little clips here and there. Yeah.
He's playing comfortable. He's only 19 years old. So, and I want you to take this with a grain of salt. Don't go crazy on me. Even if we don't trade anybody, Even if we don't trade for
You're
Damian
losing
Lillard.
me. You're losing me there.
No. Listen to me. We want to get rid of Lowry. But to me, part of this offseason also is to make sure that we don't make a mistake in re-signing undrafted free agents that we don't need to, like we talked about. Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, even Omer, and I was a big Omer fan. I would not be surprised if even Highsmith, even though Highsmith might be an emergency playoff player, a rotational player, emergency. I would not be surprised if there are some cuts before the season ends where you can sign Bouger to a guaranteed contract because someone can pick him up. Or there's a wink-wink deal with his agent and he doesn't sign anywhere else because he knows he's going to sign with us next year. But I do believe, no matter what, next year Jamal Cain will be part of the rotation. Bouger will be part of the rotation. Now, who they're complementing, that's a different story. And I'll put it to you this way. Because you told me you would trade anybody but Jimmy and Bam.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Would you trade? You would trade Jovic, Hero, all our first-round picks? That's really all we have, realistically. Secondary moves. Where could you know what? It's Kyle Lowry. The only place that we can really trade Kyle Lowry that he'll play is Clippers, maybe the Mavs, or maybe the Pelicans. Because I don't even think we could trade him back to Toronto. Anywhere that we trade Kyle Lowry to, he becomes a buyout, right?
Right.
Because Portland, you're not going to trade him to Portland. He's not going to play in Portland. They're not going to be competitive if they trade Lillard. So, what do you see? Maybe that I'm not seeing, for example, down the line with Luka, because that's one intriguing name I've always kept an eye on, and also Giannis when Giannis becomes a free agent, because it coincides with our free agency gap where we have some cap space. Do you think Luka or Giannis ends up playing for Miami? And that's from left field. I know I got you from left field, but if you had to pick between both of them, who would you pick?
I think
at that time, remember Giannis will be in his 30s, Luka's still in his 20s.
I think Giannis is less likely because it seems to me like if he were to leave Milwaukee, I think it would be somewhere like Chicago.
Okay.
But Luka makes sense for Miami, and apparently he's fun for Miami. And when he plays, at least I guess it's maybe Dragic was in his ear at some point, or something like that. But I feel like Miami would be in his short list if something went down. If
you see, and that's Alex Luka hands down. What's up, Brown? He can't wait. He can't wait to start a show. We're almost there. We're what, 20 minutes away? I'll be there shortly. You know what's funny? And I've always said, when Goran retires, I do see Goran as a member of the Heat front office or some sort of capacity in the Heat organization. If you see that happen, Clutch, you already know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You already know. You already know, man. Which to me, one of the things
and I think Luka would be a good fit because you mentioned Luka and Kyrie, how they don't work because they're both ball dominant. Yeah. But you have Luka and Bam. Bam is defense. Luka is offense.
Yes.
And then you fill in around how you like.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's attractive. I think Giannis. You brought up Giannis. I mean, nobody's gonna say no to Giannis, but I think he's in some ways, at least I don't know, a little bit too much like Bam in the sense that he won't shoot and stuff like that.
He has gotten better. He has improved the stroke.
He's still Giannis.
He's still Giannis.
I don't want to come off like saying no. I don't want Giannis. He doesn't fit on my hand. No, I don't. I'm not trying to come off like that.
Yeah, I get you.
But I think I like the dynamic of Luka and Bam more than I like
Bam more.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna throw this other scenario at you because I love doing this shit. I do believe in the growth of this team. I do believe in what I see in Hero and Bam long term. This is why this offseason to me it's fucking nerve-wracking, man, because you got to make a decision. Obviously, you're going to talk to Jimmy. Under what scenario do you trade Jimmy Butler?
There is no scenario on this universe that I would trade Jimmy Butler under.
No scenario at all?
No.
Okay.
I'd rather become a Celtics fan.
No, I won't say. Oh, this is. I'll play this game. What package would y'all give Dallas for Lucas? Oh, for Luka,
everything plus Expose
getting
kids.
everything, bro. You're getting for Luca right now. You're getting Hero, Jovic, 3 first-round picks.
I'll throw in my firstborn son.
I'll, I'll throw half of my family. I'll throw myself in. I'll trade myself to Dallas to get Luca. But obviously that we say that, but that's not realistic. You know, like they're not gonna take bro Luca. There's no fair value for Luca at all. This is what we talked about with Kevin Durant off season. There's no fair value. So honestly, I do believe they might try to trade him if they get a notion that he's leaving, but he might just leave. I think he'll be courteous enough to tell him that he's leaving, but I don't see them trading Luca right now. They'll probably take Luca like 2 or 3 years down the line when his contract's like 1 year.
We're talking of Luca, we're talking 2025,
long term.
2026.
2025. That's what I'm talking about. When he's a free agent also. So at that time we do have the cap space.
Yeah, by the time he's a free agent, you can also instead of just doing a trade, you do sign and trade, which is way cheaper because I mean, you got Jimmy Butler for Josh Richardson. So
can you imagine, bro, at that time, 4 or 5 years, we keep Jovic. Jovic is 23, 24. He's intrigued, obviously, to play with Luka. That's another, bro. I really want Miami to see Nikola Jovic play. The moment you see this kid play in depth, analyze, because we've only seen glimpses. We know he's 19. He's 6'11". I think he grew another inch. He's gaining weight, so he's getting stronger. But this kid would have been perfect for us this year. Honestly, at this point, the way this season happened, I wouldn't have minded him being the starting 4 the whole season because we couldn't be any worse, honestly, in my opinion. But obviously, Caleb Martin stepped up, which to me that is perfect. Oh, you can trade Caleb Martin too. That's another one. I forgot about that. You can trade Caleb Martin next year. His contract was tradable already this year, but I still would take him. I would take him as a rotational piece. So we're not in this deer play. Like people, okay. We have taken for granted, which is insane. There's a lot of teams right now that will give anything to be in our position, organization-wise. We're not in a bad spot, okay? It's a tricky situation because of the Kyle Lowry situation, but I do believe the main thing this offseason is fixing the Kyle Lowry situation and just eradicating that. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's major changes, and I also wouldn't be surprised if just removing Kyle and now re-signing those rotational players, you kind of have a new revamp, because you mentioned this, man. Statistically, our top 3, you can put them against anybody in the NBA, and they're producing, man. They're producing. We've lost a bunch of games because our rotational players haven't been able to hit shots.
I mean, yeah, we have 3 players averaging 20 points per game. So,
dude, that right there. When you do, even if you're a financial advisor, you do a cost analysis or a talent evaluator. You look at that, you're like, okay, I got 3 studs. I don't need to get rid of these 3 studs. I just need to rebrand their components. I need to change their complementary players. So I'm not upset if we don't trade anybody. That's what I'm trying to say to people. And I'm not taking it the wrong way. Like, oh, because Miami's like make or hit, a hit or miss, and we have to get the big name. I get that. I know we're going to go for Damian Lillard. I know we'll go for Jaylen Brown. I know we'll go for Luka if he's available. I know we'll go. That's not Kawhi. I've always been intrigued, and I've wondered if Kawhi ever wanted to play for Miami. That's one of those big, like, what ifs. I would love Kawhi.
We know he's wanted to play with Jimmy. We know that's one thing we know.
That's the thing. That's the thing, man. Like, and the reason I brought up Clippers is they have to make a change. The Clippers are stuck. The Clippers aren't going to do anything right now. So there has to be some changes there. So I don't know if even if the Clippers are willing to trade Paul George to us in a package for Kyle Lowry and obviously maybe like Jovic or some first-round picks. But the Clippers traded a shit ton for Paul George to appease Kawhi and be able to get him signed. But there's so many pieces that I want to see how this season finishes, because knowing us, bro, I mean, probably not going to happen. We get in the playoffs and we win a championship, and we're here talking all this shit, and we're just happy we won a championship. So, and everything is off the boards again. So I'm just saying, I'm going to be patient. I want to see how they play these last 2 weeks. I want to see how we finish tonight. And if we get into the playoffs, it's all 0-0. So I'm down for it. That's what we're built for. There are going to be changes this offseason. That's 100% sure. The magnitude is to be determined, because just like last year, we didn't know Kevin Durant was going to demand a trade. We didn't know Donovan Mitchell was going to demand a trade. So any of these situations could happen. And obviously, your biggest dominoes probably this offseason, free agency wise, will be Kyrie. Where he goes, sign and trade, that's going to determine a lot. If the Clippers shake it up, Damian Lillard requesting something in Dallas, in Portland, and honestly, what the Lakers do free agency wise, that could dictate a whole lot of what happens this offseason. So we'll just wait and see. But we're at the 45-minute mark, and first and foremost, which I haven't done already, like, subscribe, Finstock Sports Network, daily coverage on basically absolutely everything. We have a super special show, No Holds Bar edition today of the WrestleMania preview. It's going to be an all-star cast. I don't even know I'm going to produce it. I don't even think I have space for all the people that we're going to have on screen. But I want to thank Clutch. Justin couldn't make it, as you see, so we'll wait for him next week. And Clutch, like always, I lob it up to you. Any final words, man? Any final thoughts?
No, man. Like you mentioned, I guess I have to throw in this plug. I'll be there. No holds barred. Check me out. And let's hope that he don't keep making me sad.
Oh, my God. We talked about it before the show, man. There's seasons that I knew we were going to lose. There's seasons that I knew were going to be mediocre. And there's seasons that I knew were going to be great. I've never been as frustrated as I have with this team because
it's all about expectation versus reality. And that's
we
what
don't have an identity, man. Like it was constant. Like, oh yeah, no. Oh, it's like this year is a true epitome of a roller coaster season because you don't know when you're going up, you don't know when you're going down at all, and it's spinning everywhere. But we'll see how it plays out, Miami. Be positive. We know we have the right people in charge. Pat Riley's not sleeping, as you can see in the picture. So until next Wednesday, stay healthy, stay dry because it's pouring outside Miami. See you all. Take care, and like always, go Heat.